Very warm welcome to Voice Creature of Transition program organized for the students at the Rietveld Academie by Studium Generale and Rietveld Uncut and the Brakke Grond. Really good to see you, see a lot of familiar faces, people who were here yesterday, also see quite a few new faces. Welcome to join us for joining us for the second day of our 4-day conference. I really want to keep this short. We have been preparing the conference during 2 full months at the Academy with a preliminary program where we have been looking into quite a few aspects of this phenomenon voice. These 4 days at the conference are guest curated by 4 very different curators. So each day has its own very distinct atmosphere, topic. Each of them, all the curators were invited to work on something they have been concerned with for a much longer time. They are invited to go in depth. I have to say something about that. We have been trying to work as much as possible towards the students. I hope you have found your way to the wonderful lexicon that has been written by one of the alumni from the Rietveld, and she has been working on all the words in the program that some of you might find interesting to read what they could possibly mean. It's also published on the website. You're welcome to have your laptops on board, but you're also kindly invited to switch off your mobile phones so that we won't be disturbed by that. I have to say a few more practical things. We are a bit late, so the day will run a bit later. There was a technical problem. Apologies for that. It is brilliantly solved by Eric from Brakke Grond, who is helping us in a great way. There will be Rietveld broodjes during the break in the tent, in the garden, so that you don't have to go out and fetch something. As you know, we present you with a day-long program. It's absolutely worthwhile to make the effort and really go for it and do it hardcore, be there the whole day. But if you can't do that, then you're also welcome to attend one slot and come back for another, as you all know. Then finally, I want to say something about the upcoming days. We already have the pleasure of having Ruth Noack and Mark Beasley, the curators of the next 2 days in the house. They are here. I hope you will follow a bit on the website, on Facebook, some small changes, but great changes also in the program. Important to know is that the final session on Sunday will be open to the public for free. So check that on the website, and it will be a grand finale, and we hope that you convey that to parents or friends who want to attend also the choir at the end of the days. Okay, without further ado, I now would like to welcome to the stage FRÉDÉRIQUE BERGHOLTZ, who is the director of If I Can't Dance, I Don't Want to Be Part of Your Revolution. We invited If I Can't Dance, I Don't Want to Be Part of Your Revolution to curate today's program, and FRÉDÉRIQUE will introduce you to what If I Can Dance exactly is, and I welcome her to the stage right now. FRÉDÉRIQUE, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Gabriëlle, and thank you, Rietveld Academie, for inviting us. It is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to you all. And I'm glad to see that you have gathered in such a great number here today at het Vlaams Cultuurhuis de Brakke Grond to attend the symposium titled Resonance and Transmission from One Voice to Another. And I'm delighted that we have in our midst today the much appreciated artists and theoreticians Federica Boetti and Camilla Wills, Alex Martinez-Rowe and Francesco Ventrella, Wendelin van Oldenborg and Sharon Hayes, and the latter will be present here in the form of her film Ricerche, I should pronounce, I hope, 3 that we will screen in this block. And with all of them, we will explore today, in the light of today's theme, the transformation that occurs in the re-articulation of voice. I'm also very glad that we have with us today Susan Gibb, who, upon invitation of FRÉDÉRIQUE, composed the Symposium program and will be the interlocutor of today's speakers. My name is Frédérique BERGHOLTZ, and I'm one of the founders of FRÉDÉRIQUE, I Don't Want to Be Part of Your Revolution, and director. And FRÉDÉRIQUE is an Amsterdam-based organization that engages with the practice of performance. What we do is producing, with artists and with other cultural practitioners, art projects in the sphere of performance. So that may be an installation, a live performance, a book or a film. And these projects have different manifestations in different institutions internationally and in the Netherlands. FRÉDÉRIQUE doesn't have its own venue, but works along the systematics of collaboration with artists and with then these institutions that our projects are traveling to. The projects that we produce and present, they all have their own itineraries, and you may compare it maybe with a theater play. Our projects, they tour, they address time and again different audiences, and they evolve in the act of iteration or in the process of being presented successively. FRÉDÉRIQUE borrowed its name from a quote by the famous feminist anarchist Emma Goldman, who was born in Lithuania and lived for the greater part of her life in America, late 19th century till mid 20th century, who was a fervent writer and lecturer, amongst others fighting for women's rights. As regards to this quote, Emma Goldman probably never literally spoke those words, but it goes most likely back to an anecdote she describes in her biography, accounting of how she was once admonished by one of her fellow anarchists on an anarchist party in New York while she was dancing, and this colleague, so to say, of her said to her that it didn't behoove an agitator to dance, that it didn't suit her. So she wrote in her biography, I did not believe that a cause with capital C, which stood for a beautiful ideal, for anarchism, for release and freedom from conventions and prejudice, should demand the denial of life and joy. I insisted that our cause could not expect me to become a nun, and that the movement should not be turned into a cloister. If it meant that, I did not want it. So that episode is later paraphrased as, if I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution. And it is our name, but also our motto, as we embrace it as, so to say, as it suggests that the search for agency and the potential of empowerment, to name some heavy word, lies in all elements of life and cannot be regulated to a firmly cordoned off arena called the political. It is embedded and reflected in art too. So, with Emma Goldman as our patron, you won't be surprised that there is a feminist sense and a feminist spirit pervading all our activities. Since its inception in 2005, FRÉDÉRIQUE has committed itself to look into the legacies and potentials of feminism, most acutely articulated in our 2006-2007 edition that thematized feminism within the practices of our own generation of artists, but ever since it has remained the leitmotif within our inquiries, the lens through which we explored, for instance, other notions like masquerade, affect, and currently appropriation. As said, our projects are presented worldwide, but we also have a regular presence in Amsterdam, be it at the Stedelijk Museum or at FEMtheater, or sometimes at a site-specific location. But recently we also on a fairly regular basis organize events, more informal events at our offices, which are at the Westerdock near the Ey River, called Emma's, where we host artist talks, book launches, or small tryouts. And you all are very welcome to join us at these events, and please check our website, which is ifacondance.org, or check a newly initiated agenda for performance in Amsterdam called performanceplatform.org. And for 2 upcoming events, I would like to personally invite you and take this occasion to bring them to your attention. The first is exactly in 1 week, Friday, April the 28th, in our offices. It's a new performance written and directed by Tim Etchells, and it's titled It's Moving from I to It, the play. And the second performance that is upcoming is by Joël Teurlings, I think not to be missed. The title is That's It, plus 3 free minutes, and will take place on April 12 and 13 in het Veemtheater. And as you may know, the lectures of Joël Teurlings could be considered almost performances, but this is the really first time that she dedicates to making a performance, working with the infrastructure that is offered by the theater space. I conclude with one last remark about Ifacondance way of working, highly valuing long-term relationships. We develop and present our productions within a rhythm of 2-year editions, allowing artists and researchers to work from a spirit of open questioning and engage in a long-term inquiry. This means that we build up long-term working alliances and that we consider our organization to be an association, a network of collaborators that is constantly growing and allows for many different voices to find a stage. We have a team of 5 more or less permanent collaborators, amongst which the curators Tanja Baudouin and Vivian Zihel, but we let unfold our productions in this 2-year time frame. Because of that, we consider our collaborators, the artists, the researchers, as associates. And so is the case with Susan Gibb, a curator based in Sydney, and now with the support of the Australian Council, temporarily working with Ifacondance, and who we have invited to curate today's symposium. Susan is curator, as said, and she worked both independently and in the frame of art institutions, amongst which 2 multidisciplinary institutions in Sydney called Carriage Works and Campbelltown Art Centre, where she had a focus on performative practices in contemporary art. And at Campbelltown Art Centre, amongst others, she co-curated a show that looked into the shifting boundaries between dance and visual arts. Of course, something that interests us very much. Most recently, Susan ran an independent curatorial initiative called Society, also in Sydney, and where she curated an intergenerational program of exhibitions, also something we find really important. And in the light of today's theme, I think it's interesting to mention that one of the things she did in Society was to give quite an important role to interviews with artists that were there in the exhibition to be consulted by visitors, that she wanted to present also as a way of art writing, and that again was articulating the fact that always many, many voices are involved in art practice, not only the artist. So, I wish you an inspiring day, and I would like to hand over to Susan Gibb.
You want this? To go to slideshow?
So do I just push play?
Yeah.
Thank you, Frederick. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of the speakers and you, the audience, here today for today's program, Resonance and Transmission from One Voice to Another. It's really great to see so many people here. I'd also like to start by thanking Studium Generale for kindly inviting If I Can't Dance to curate this event, and in turn to If I Can't Dance for inviting and supporting me to put today's program together. I'd also like to thank Brakke Grond for hosting us in this theatre. So following on from Frédéric's introduction to If I Can't Dance, including its ongoing interest in performance and feminism, I'll now provide you with a quick outline of today's conference that will connect these stated concerns to particular inquiries and references relating to the voice and ideas of resonance and transmission. So we're going to carry and return to these ideas across today's program of presentations from the various speakers who are Federica Buetti, Camilla Wills, Sharon Hayes, Alex Martinez-Rowe, Francesco Ventrella and Wendelin van Oldenburg. Each of them in turn and in conversation will bring their own unique voices, practices and research interests to the day, along with those of others through their work. I'll also connect these inquiries and references to If I Can't Dance's own current research trajectory for its edition number 5, in which we and our many associates have been thinking through ideas of appropriation and dedication. So, okay. What do we mean by resonance and transmission? And how does this apply to the voice? And further, the idea of voice in relation to another's voice, as the subtitle of the day suggests. So briefly today, resonance will be considered in terms of the uniqueness of the voice, which is a concept proposed by the Italian feminist and philosopher Adriana Cavallero in her book For More Than One Voice, Towards a Philosophy of Vocal Expression, which was published in 2005. For Cavallero, the idea of uniqueness emphasizes the corporality of the voice, so its relationship to the body of a person, and the unique individual and identifiable sound of each person's voice, alongside its relationship to the speech and the language that it shapes. We'll consider resonance also in terms of how the voice can resonate over time and with someone else, meaning how it may continue to be heard and its residual impact. We'll be doing this through thinking through forms of the voice's transmission, so from its bodily utterance and acts of speech to the recording of the voice in text, film and sound recording, and further the potential and implications of its re-articulation by someone else. This will be seen through the various textures of today's presentations. So importantly, in considering these ideas, today's conference also continues If I Can't Dance's own current research trajectory for edition 5 into appropriation and dedication. For the past year and a half, we have been thinking through ideas of appropriation and dedication collaboratively with our commissioned artists, which are Jerry Bibby, Sarah van der Heide, Snezhanka Milova and Emily Rosedon. Our performance and resident researchers as well, Greg Bordowitz, Jacob Korsinski, Sven Luteken and Grant Watson, and with the members of our monthly reading group. Across this period, the voice as a material and a subject has continued to emerge as a point of interest and inquiry, particularly in terms of authorship, which obviously appropriation disrupts. So within If I Can't Dance's current edition, today also falls within a particular trajectory of events. This trajectory commenced with the Appropriation and Dedication Seminar in January 2013 that marked the commencement of the edition from the previous 2-year cycle that researched ideas of affect. In this seminar, we considered the productive fiction of making something your own as both a potential subversive strategy and the inverse ability to be transformed by the objects that we might attempt to possess. This event was then followed in June 2013 by the Summer Open Reading Group. So I'll play the images again because they're actually of this reading group, so it might cycle through quite quickly, but we'll see how it goes. So this reading group was led by the artist Alex Martinez-Rowe, who we're very excited to have back with us here today as one of the speakers. Let's see if this... Maybe... Wait, sorry. I don't know. It's okay. Yeah. We can go... I can just go backwards manually. So this... or maybe I'll just leave it on 1 or 2. So this is the reading group. Maybe that's a little bit embarrassing for everyone. This one's probably... Okay, so for the summer open reading group, If I Can't Dance's own reading group and members of the public were invited to join Alex to hop on a bike and to cycle to the countryside north of Amsterdam, where Alex led a workshop that introduced If I Can't Dance and those that participated to the work of Adriana Caballero and voicing practices, including exploring feminine voicing, feminism and gendered vocality. Over this day, Alex, with the participating group, considered gestures of appropriation, and through either discarding this term or extending its scope through what it might mean to intentionally resonate with another's voice as a feminist political practice, alongside an inquiry into the politics of speaking for another. So today we pick up where we left off in this field in Amsterdam. So now I'm just going to provide a quick and brief overview of today's structure and presentations so you have an idea of what's in store for you before inviting the first speakers to commence. We're very excited to have gathered an exceptional group of speakers here today. And so the day is going to be composed in 3 parts with 2 breaks of approximately 15 minutes each. We'll commence the day with collaborative readings by Federica Buetti and Camilla Wills, whose presentation and persons I'll introduce in a moment. This will be followed by a screening of Sharon Hayes' film, Recurture 3, which was commissioned for the Encyclopedic Palace at the 2013 Venice Biennial, and which records an interview between Sharon Hayes and 35 students at an all-women's college in Western Massachusetts. The screening will take us through to our first break. We'll then return to an artist's presentation by Alex Martinez-Rowe, who will introduce us to her ongoing oral history research into the Milan Women's Bookstore Collective, as well as her practice of acknowledging other voices in her work. The art historian Francesco Ventrella will then deliver a lecture that explores the relationship between voices and intersubjectivity through the art critic and feminist Carla Lonzi's book of artist interviews titled Autorretrato, that was first published in 1969. To conclude the day, we will screen artist Wendelin van Oldenburg's 2012 film, Betje en Daisy, that narrates an encounter between 2 women from 2 different generations and social backgrounds in Rio de Janeiro. With each of these women are particularly noted as they have both given meaning to the idea of their public voice in their own way. After the screening, Wendelin will join us for a conversation. So we hope that you're able to join us for the entire program and invite you now to settle in for the first presentation. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the guests, Federica Buetti and Camilla Wills. Federica Buetti is a writer, editor, art critic and occasional curator who is based in Berlin. She's co-founder and editor-in-chief of Ment Journal, which is a journal for contemporary culture, art and politics, and which the most recent issue, Attunement Generations, considers how different generations relate and talk to each other. Her practice explored modes and methods of production, including fictive, critical and theoretical writing and publishing. Currently, her research is a focus on performative writing in art, feminine writing, and the work of the French philosopher and writer Hélène Cixous. Federica will be presenting in collaboration with the artist and writer Camilla Wills. Camilla Wills lives and works in London, and it's lovely to be able to welcome Camilla back here today, as she previously studied at Piet Zwart Institute in Rotterdam. Some of her recent projects include editing and co-publishing a book of Moira Davies' writing, as well as also working in the editorial department at Bookworks in London. Together, Federica and Camilla will present collaborative readings under the title To Sing Like an Apple Tree, Sideshow. It is a homage of a homage. The homage is to Hélène Cixous and her writing, which crosses boundaries between genres, disciplines and genders, and in turn to Hélène Cixous' own homage to the Brazilian author and Clarice Lispector, whose idea of writing by the ear informed Cixous' essay on her To Live the Orange. I'll now welcome Federica and Camilla to the stage. Thank you very much.